Hi, this is Lisa from the Jollypadboutique, and we're going to be making our May part of our calendar. So it has a lot of glitter and sparkle on it. I've used embossing powders and a lovely hare. So what we need to make this is we need some Elements inks. I've got from Lavender Stamps, I've got Lime Punch, Russet Orange and Graphite. We've got, I don't think I used that, but you can use it, Medieval Blue, which is a dark blue, but I definitely used Monarch from Versafine, Clair and Glamorous. I also used Nocturne, and I used some VersaMark, and that was to do the embossing here and here. So the embossing powder I used was bright white. It was the Opaque bright white, which is hiding behind here, the Wow Brilliant White. I also used various colours for Logan, which is the hare, watercolour pencils with a watercolour brush. For embossing, I also used my little, I can't remember, little pillow. It's got French chalk in it, and it just makes sure that the embossing powder doesn't stick. I use glue and these nice angled scissors to decoupage lupin. We have two stencil brushes, so an orange and a grey for the background, and the stamps I used the Lavender, which is a Lavender, which is LAV093, so I used the Lavender. What else did I use? I used the Field Grass, which is LAV197, and the LAV188, which is the Wildflower. I don't think I used anything else from that one. I also used the Wild Summer Flower, that's LAV749, and I used Logan, keep calling him Lupin, Logan, which is this one, which is LAV773, and I've also got his brother Lupin, and that's why I keep calling him Lupin. So these are the stamps and what they look like. So there's Logan, he just comes off here, and the summer flower, so you can see the size of them, the lavender, the field grass, which I believe is the smaller one, the orchard grass is bigger, and I believe, and the wild flower, so which is this one here, and I've just added the little innards, the little sort of like white bits to show inside. I've also used the Lavender circle masks to do the morning sun, and the hill masks as well, and that's to do this hill here, which shows that he is jumping up the hill. So those are the items that we used, so let's get going. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use Lime Punch. This is an Elements ink from Lavender Stamps. We are also going to use Russet Orange, and we're going to use some Graphite, which is a grey. Now these are water based because they're dye ink pads, so they will mix very well with water, and I've got my water spray here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of smooshing. So smooshing is where you put some ink down on the mat and then you pick it up with the card like this, which is smooshing. So I'm going to start with the Elements ink because I want to make sure that it is light in the middle, the Elements Lime Punch. So let's just give it a wiggle with my fingers. I've got some tissue here, and we're just going to, let's see, that's the side with the black around it, and we're just going to do really nice, keeping it in the middle, or well, it's all over at the moment, like that. Oh, got a little hair there, so I shall move that. Okay, so that is what it looks like. I like those little dots that are created as well, so you can see there the little dots. Now, as this isn't watercolor card, so it is actually bending. So let's just find my cloth and give this a wipe. Now you could do several at a time and keep them to dry. So I'm just going to do this and dry it so that you can see the next layer going on. Normally it would be just left to dry so it wouldn't get pushed down into the card. So I'll dry it and then I'll come back when it's done. Okay, so what I did was I heated it from the front and the back. So because when you heat it, it will bend like that, and then when you heat the back, it will straighten up. And I just did it with my Heat It craft tool. So this has got just an on-off, and it's the quieter one of the couple that I have. So, but I didn't want you to have to watch me do that. So the next step is, now I've done the lime punch, is to do the orange. So I'll put that to one side, and then I'll put a little bit. Now these are really, really juicy. They're lovely, lovely inks to use. So once again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to smooch it around with my fingers, clean it off, and this time I'm just going to put round the sides and the edges in the orange so that it's a border and keeps it quite light in the middle. So keeping it smooching so it's quite light here. So I'm going to plan to put Lupin here, Logan here, so I need it quite light in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry that one off now. Okay, so that's all nice and dry, but what I thought while I was drying it is that I would quite like to add a couple of layers. So before I do the grey, which is going to be around the edge, I thought I would come back in with the lime punch and lighten up that centre again. I think because when it is layered, it looks so nice, because the other layers just sort of like disappear into the background and it becomes really nice and deep, so you can see the depth of it. So let's add a little bit more, tiny bit of water, so it's going to have a lot more punch, being lime punch. So can you see where I've added less water, it is a little bit more vibrant, and if I added even less, it will be more vibrant again. So let's dry that off. Okay, so now I've made it thoroughly dry, but you can see how much the card is warping. And it's best to use a multifarious card, which you can get from Lavender Stamps, or a watercolour card, which you can also get from Lavender Stamps, or you can get some from Pink Frog. Just depends on where you want to go for your card. The Lavender card is absolutely amazing, so for multimedia projects it's perfect. Right, so that's your first and second layer. So if I just hold it up, and you can see that it has created depth now. I've added here that lime punch. Okay, it hasn't leaked through too much, that's what was on the back, so that's fine. And I quite like it this way round because I'm thinking that Logan's feet can go down into this gap here. So let's see if we can add some graphite now. So this is graphite. I'm only going to use a little bit, and I'm going to use it just around the edge, just so that it draws your eye in and there's a lot more depth. So if I just make it light to begin with, because I don't want to ruin it, but what I will do is, if it's not dark enough, is to just come back with it to create a little bit more depth in between drying. It's important to dry it in between. So it's probably not that dark, so I shall dry that off and layer it again. Right, okay, so I've dried it off, and now I think I'm going to add a little bit more to create a little bit more depth. And I'm going to put my graphite down on my mat as I did before, using a little bit more so I've got enough to go around the edge, but with less water. So now you can see that it's a lot darker. So let's give that a go. Okay, just around the edge, and it is a lot darker. Once it's dry, it will lighten up a little bit. It's a bit more depth there in the corner. There we go. So it really is now drawing your eye into the middle. So I shall dry that off and come back to you. Okay, so I've dried it off completely, and now even with no images there, your eye is drawn to the centre. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp Logan in the middle here. Okay, so I like to position him here first, so he's right in my focal, here's the focal image, so he's right in the middle where I want him to be. So I'm going to place him on the block. Now this is a block from All and Create, and it's a flexible block, so that means I can get all of his detail completely. So I'm going to ink him up in Nocturne. First of all, I'm going to get some copy paper so that I've got a soft surface to stamp him on, and I'm going to stamp him in Versafine Clair Nocturne. Now if you've seen my other videos, I've got 3 pads, and each of those I use in turn, and then I do the re-inking, so I can re-ink them up. I think this one's going a little bit dry, so I normally bring the pad to the stamp and give some light tapping, and I will put my pad upside down. Now I've written Nocturne on the back because I normally keep it upside down when I'm working, and I have by accident put other stamps upside down, and then it's been a bit of a catastrophe when I've picked the wrong one up and inked it up and stamped it, and it's not being black. So I've just popped him down, and you can see that he is here, and I'm pressing him and flexing the block, and if you want to, you can bend down and have a look underneath to see how it's going. Now I don't want to do that because I'm going to get my head in the way. There we go. There he is. And as you can see the background through him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then stamp him out again on card and then glue him over the top. And that means that when I cut him out, I won't need to cut round all of these little pieces of fur. I won't need to cut around his whiskers or his whiskers here. I can just cut out the main body, and when I stick him on, all of this will still be showing. So I will do that. Unfortunately, I've already got him cut out, so I will pop him on in the end. But before that, I want to do is going to be leaping through a meadow, and I love these delicate flowers that I'm going to pop here, and I might do some here as well, just so it lightens up a tiny bit. So I shall ink up in Versafine, and then I shall be doing the embossing. But before I do that, what I need to do is, apart from hit the camera, is I need to get my bag. Okay, it's got French chalk in it, and I will rub it over the card so that it doesn't pick up, the embossing powder doesn't stick to anything that might still be a bit wet. So getting another acrylic block, I'm going to put the large one, and I'm going to bend the stalk a little bit. Now, to do embossing, you need to have VersaMark, which is a water stamp pad. It's like a watermark, and I'm going to ink up. So I just dropped my pad then, so it's a very good idea not to have it on your work, because then it just goes onto it and can ruin it. So I'm just going to pop that there like that, and I'm going to pop, you probably won't pick it up, but if I get my Wow embossing powder, that's Opaque Bright White, and pop it over where the image was, you will be able to see the image here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the embossing powder back, because it's so grainy, it will be everywhere, and pop the piece of paper there so I can work on it next time. I should move that, it's got a fish on it from my another project. And then I'm going to heat up the embossing powder, and it will melt and become a lot brighter. So I'm going to heat up the tool, because that's a lot better, a lot easier to do. I'm going to heat from the back first, and it's better when it's hot, and heat from the front. Oh. And hopefully you'll be able to see it turning white. There, and you can see it here. You can see it, it's quite shiny, and it really picks it up. So I'm going to stamp other flowers around it just by using that same technique, and show you what I end up with. Okay, so this is what I've ended up with. So I've put the smaller and larger there, done the embossing powder and heated it up, and it's really nice texture. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do his the ground. So he's jumping, but I want him to be jumping from somewhere. So these are Acetate Hill masks, and you can get these from Lavender as well, and they come in all sizes, and they've got hills and mountains. You can use them for waves if you're doing under the sea type of project. So I'm just going to place it down here, And I'm going to use my graphite again and a stencil brush. So these are Lavender stencil brush. So I've got one for different colours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up and take it off on my lid so it doesn't waste it, but it's also not going to be too dark. So let's move that over to the side a little bit. And I'm going to just pop him there just to have that little hill bit, and over his feet so he looks like he's running uphill. So I'm going to start here on the heel mask where it will be darker because he is his shadow will be underneath, and then I'm going to go back into the lid, collect some more and start here. I'm going to make it a little bit darker in the corner and then come across. And what you can do is you can lift them and have a look, and I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around the edge, so I'm going to do this, and you'll be able to see that it takes a little bit of the white away from the flower, but it doesn't take too much away. So I'm just going to come around the bottom just slightly so it brings your eye in. And what I might do is just go back over, place it over there like so, line it all up and do it a little bit darker. There we go. So with it being a little bit darker, it will definitely show that that's the ground there. There we go. Yes, that's better. So I shall wipe this and pop it away and put my lid on. There we go. So there you can see that his little foot is there, but he definitely looks like he's on the move. So now I'm going to stamp using the flowers, and I've added a couple more to it. There's going to be a wildflower, field grass, and a lavender, and these are all from Lavender stamps. So I'm going to start with the wildflower, pop it on the block, and then I'm going to stamp it up using Versafine Clair. Wait till the camera adjusts. Is it going to adjust? There we go. No, this is called Monarch. So here we go. And it's a beautiful purple. So I'm going to stamp it up. I've just caught the block here at the end. So I'm going to take a damp cloth, just wipe it, and then stamp it down. There we go. And you can see it doesn't show up an awful lot, but that's okay because we should be adding some touches to it too. We'll do first and second generation, and we'll do some at the other side as well. So I'm going to do one in that space there, and then to do one there, and just remember to angle them so that they don't look odd. Do another one down there, doesn't show up very much, but it will be in the background. I'm going to wipe my stamp and dry it. I'm going to pop that back on its acetate. There we go. Now we're going to do lavender. Now I know lavender is usually that purple, but I'm going to do it in Glamorous. I don't know why my camera lens isn't adjusting. I'll have to have a look at that. So this is Versafine Clair Glamorous, adding just a little bit of colour to the bottom. And some over there as well, so it looks like it's in the background. There we go. It's a little bit more. Do it angled that way. And then what to do a little bit up there. So it can be tricky with these dark backgrounds to get something that shows up beautifully on it. And now I'm going to do the field grass, and I'm going to ink that up in my Versafine Clair Nocturne. So just to bring a bit of black into the foreground. Have a big space there. There we go. I'm going to stamp on top of the embossing powder. It should look like it's in the background. And another one there. And taller one there. Okay, so I think that's looking good. Let's have a look at what else we have. So I'm going to get acetate circle mask. So these are the acetate circle masks, and they come in different sizes. This is the medium size one, and I think that's going to be a little bit too small. Let's have a quick look. That's the largest one. We're going to spotlight him a little bit more. Yeah, I think we're going to spotlight him a little bit more. And I'm going to take the Russet, so the Russet orange Lavender stamps, and another brush. So I'm going to move that out the way and get an orange brush. I'm going to do the same thing. Put it on, take it off into the lid. They're very, very juicy. Now it's good to start. I think I might put it over the land a little bit. Shall I do it? I'll do it here. So start on the mask, and you can see quite a lot of oranges coming off. So I'm just going to take it really gently, tapping a little bit in, but I'm going to still come back at the bottom. Now it doesn't matter that I'm going to go over Logan, because I've got his decoupage to come. I'm going to take a little bit more off of there to bring round the top. then lift it up. You can see that that spotlights him beautifully. Now this is a very dirty now. My fingers are very dirty. So I'm going to wipe that clean and dry it off with my cloth and put it back so I don't lose it, because these are see-through, they get lost, but I do have some spots on them to help me. And they come with an outie as well, so they come with the mask bit and the stencil, so you can use them for different things. So that's doing that with the orange, and as you can see, it's spotlighted him a lot better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Logan ready to be watercoloured. So his little aperture here, and as you can see, he looks rather bald compared to him, and I'm going to watercolour him and pop him on the top. So I'll just get all of that ready. Okay, so what I've got ready, these are just watercolour pencils that I have. I've got several shades of brown and a pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watercolour him. I've got a watercolour brush here, and that will then blend all of the colours together. So I'm going to start with a light brown, and I'm just going to colour the whole of him in the light brown, except for the inside of his ear. So I did stamp him a while ago and blotted him, and cut him out so he is dry. And I cut it out with not cut it out. Oh, what am I saying? Stamped him with the Nocturne, so he's all nice and dry, and it's a permanent ink. So then when I start adding colour and water to it, the Nocturne does not move, it just stays put because it is waterproof. There we go. So then I'm going to start following the shading that Tracy has done, so all here with the darker. So I'm going to sort of like just follow her shading around the eye and the nose and his chin. I'm trying not to make definite lines, so my pencil isn't too sharp, so it doesn't make lines. And there we go. So I might not use all the other colours. There he is. A little bit darker around there. Okay. And I might put a little bit of the mid-brown just to show a different colour. Because rabbits, after all, well, hares are all different colour, aren't they? There we go, the top there. Make that a bit more rounded. Okay, so let's have a look how we're getting on. So I'm going to sort of like just blend those colours together, starting with the light and then pulling the dark down. Now it's all a bit of trial and error really, because you know, I've never been on a course for watercolour, which you can probably tell. So, but I enjoy doing it. Let's just put my cloth there so I can clean my brush. There we go. And just sort of like blending it all together. It's very therapeutic, this is. There we go. So it brings out the colour even on the black. Start with the light and pull it round. There we go, so just not definite lines and into the darker at the bottom. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the pink and I'm going to pop it into his ears like so. And I'm going to do a little pink nose. Maybe a little bit pink around his eyes. Okay, like so. And then I can just blend it so you can't see the lines, and it gives it that gentle pop of colour as well, pop of lightness. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so there he is. And now I'm going to get a pen. Where is it? There it is. It's a white gel pen. So it's just a Signo pen, just to do a few highlights, just where it will be a lot lighter, maybe down here. Sorry, I've gone a bit quiet, haven't I? There we go. Around his shoulder. Maybe just pop of white on his tail. Just a few highlights where the sun, if you think the sun's all the way around him, will catch him. Let's do a little bit just above his jawline there. Bit on his feet. There we go. There he is. Makes him look a little bit more 3D. And then we're going to glue him here so he really stands out. So I've used a scrap of card for him. As you can see, it's not a fresh piece of card, but that doesn't, sorry, that doesn't matter. So let's just pop him on a little bit of wriggle time, and I shall get a piece of paper. Okay, and just make sure it's all down. So there we go, and get the glue lid on, which can be a bit tricky. So there he is, jumping through. Now it's not a very bright, cheerful card, so let's get some glitter and brighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to get a clear gel pen and go round the sun or the moon, just making sure he looks like he's in front of it, so you don't go over the line that he's of his body, so it looks like he's in front of it. So I'm going to go around it and maybe do a little bit of a thicker line. So I do like things that are a little bit grungy, but I also like plain and simple, so maybe we'll lighten it up a bit when it comes to June and July, make it a bit summery. Yeah, maybe this is Logan at dawn. Okay, so let's have a look. I've got some glitter Posca pens as well. So I've got a yellow, which is really lovely, and they are glitter pens. Now I've just got to make sure it's flowing. There we go. And put some yellow glitter in to each of these, just a little dot, and when the light catches it, it will gleam. It would be like the sunlight. So I like to think that this is when Logan is coming out first thing in the morning, ready for the day ahead. So it's dawn. I like to think that it might be dawn, and he's just looking forward to leaping through the meadows. Don't need to be exact. So I tend to go inside them, but for the video I've not got a lot of time. I don't want to keep you hanging on too long. So the bigger ones tend to be, I'll just put that inside. And we've got, there we go, you can hopefully in a minute show you the sparkle. So nice to do this. You just feel relaxed and happy because it's the finishing touches that are just lovely. It's lovely to come up with a design and to build upon it, but the finishing touches are nice too. So you can see the glitter as it catches the light. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my white Posca pen. This is a smaller one. Just make sure that it's working. There we go. And with the white Posca pen, I'm going to put a little bit of white in the middle of these flowers here. And it will soak in to the colour, but it just gives that tiny bit of light to it, because this is Posca, so it's a paint. There we go. Go over it a little bit again because it's soaked in. There we go. And it's all these finishing touches that help to make sure that the card is a lot lighter in the dark bits. There we go. And we've got some over here. There we go. Let's do some on that one. Okay, how's that looking? That's okay. And then I'm going to use some red Posca. And that's the sparkle. These are all sparkle pens. Just to do some dots coming up, like when it's in the morning and there's seeds and things floating around, especially by the ones that we've done in Glamorous. So it follows all the colours. We've still got the same colour tones coming through. That's better. And it just adds to it. I mean, if it wasn't there, you'd soon notice. There we go. Let's do some coming up. Not as keen on that. Let's just hide that a little bit. There we go. So what do we have now? Let's have a look. We've got some black and white. Don't think we need that. And maybe go over those red ones with a little bit of gold so they're not as bright. There we go. Okay, so there he is, leaping through the meadow. Just give him a quick dry and attach him to the calendar. Okay, so there he is. There's Logan in our calendar for May, as he's jumping through the meadow at dawn. So I'm really pleased with how he turned out. I love the fact that these highlights also make him look as if he's a little bit old. So there he is. So it's just so nice to be able to get a little bit more creative, and especially with the edging. It looks like a thunderstorm is clearing or about to arrive, like it very much does in April and May with the rain coming. So we shall be doing another one for June. So you can use these. I know that I've got a 2022 calendar and it is now 2023. However, you can do these in whatever calendar that you want. And the good thing is that you can cut them out and you can reuse them for pictures, presents, or for another calendar, or you can just put them on a card. So there we go. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, and happy crafting.